I'm Mort Cooper, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. Voices are for everyone. That's a statement I make, but a lot of people don't believe it.
They talk with a funny voice?
Well, they talk all the way down here like this. Voices really express us. They speak for us. They make us who we are or aren't. Now, that is a premise. Maybe you don't feel that way. You wonder about your voice, why it is the way it is. You get up in the morning, your voice has the grumpies, as Johnny Carson calls it. The voice is like this, it's not too lively. And it doesn't have the pizzazz that you'd like to have it. Why don't you have a better, more effective voice? That's a question I pose to you too. You say you're born with the voice that you have, it's not real, it's not good, it's not star quality. The point is that you've never had a single lesson on your speaking voice, have you? That's a point that seems to bother you just a bit. Why would anybody want to take lesson 1 on the speaking voice? Don't you just open your mouth as you're growing up and talk? Don't kids use their voices naturally? Yes, they do. But when you're a kid, you have a kid voice, and when you're an adult, you have an adult voice. Unfortunately, a lot of adults have kid voices. You know that because when you answer the phone, if you're a woman, they ask, is your mother in, or is the lady of the house in, or is, if you're at the office, who's in charge, because you sound like a kid. And if you're a male, when they call, they ask, is your father in, you are the father, or they ask at the office, who's in charge, because you don't have an adult voice. You may be the lawyer, the doctor, the Indian chief, or whatever, but you don't sound it. Voices, I say, are for everyone, but that point may not have permeated yet. What do I mean by that? As a kid, you have a kid voice, you grow up, you become an adult, but you maintain or retain the kid voice. You don't make it an adult voice. Why should you make it an adult voice? Doesn't it automatically change as you grow from childhood to adulthood? No. Basically, it doesn't change. It's my view that 50% of us, 50% at least, maintain a kid voice, thin, high, nasal, and so forth.
When we stay up here, we have the blahs and the wimpies.
And you don't know better, and you just live with it. Between the ages of 12 and 15, the voice basically changes from a kid to an adult, from a boy to a man, from a girl to a woman, from a kid to an adult, but you don't change that way. We're going to show you today how you can get a better, more effective voice. Voices are for everybody. Now, if you like the voice that you have, you feel comfortable with it, you don't have to bother watching, but maybe you have a friend or an enemy. Could be you have an enemy,
and they talk like this,
and you make fun of them, or you ignore them, or you tune them out, or you have a friend that has a bad voice and you want to help them. You can do all of this by simply understanding the laws of voice. There are laws of voice, like there are laws of gravity. In the 18th century, Newton discovered the law of gravity. Now, for many centuries, there was no concept of the law of gravity. Why in the 18th century? Why by one person? You have to ask yourself that question too. Why not in the 16th century? Why not in the 14th century? Why not before? Why did the Wright brothers learn to fly at a certain point? Why not somebody else? Why the steam engine? Why the car? Why this and that? People in our society are inventive, creative, and innovative. Not necessarily in that order, but they are. There are individuals that help us to move forward. I hope I found some of the laws of voice that find and use your natural voice in seconds and show you a direction that can help you to be all you can and more, so that you represent yourself with a speaking voice, which is an instrument. Most of us don't realize the voice is an instrument. It's like the piano. It's like a saxophone. It's like any instrument that you could think of. And yet, you haven't taken lesson 1 on the speaking voice. You take lessons on how to drive your car, lessons on how to dress, on how to think, write, and read, right? But how many of you have ever taken one single lesson on the speaking voice. We have an instrument in the studio. It's called the voice mirror, and it shows the pitch of voice as I'm talking. It will show it to you, and I'm going to demonstrate how you can get your real voice using the instrument as we go along. So you join me if you want to have a better, more effective voice. I maintain voices are for everybody, not just the stars, not for just people on radio and television, not for people who are lawyers and doctors and are in important positions, but for you as a homemaker, as a student, as a truck driver, as an individual who wants to be more expressive and real to yourself and have greater self-esteem. I believe the voice says it all. Don't you? Join with me. If you wake up in the morning and you have the blahs like that, your voice is down here, you don't have to have that voice. What it is the basal pitch of voice, the bottom, or the morning voice. And you don't want to use that voice all the time. What you want to do is get the concept that the voice should be up here in the 2/3 solution. Now, what is the 2/3 solution? Just bear with me. The voice is built on a megaphone basis from the top of your eyebrows down to the bottom of your vocal folds at the 5th and 6th cervical vertebrae down here. There are 7 cervical vertebrae in the neck, and it's built on a megaphone basis with a narrow portion down here, and it moves up that way, 6 to 9 inches in length. Now it's broken up into the upper throat. This whole thing is the throat, incidentally. From the top of your eyebrows down to the bottom of your vocal folds is called the throat. Right behind, if somebody were to cut behind, right down behind, it would be an empty tube, and that is called the throat. It's right behind the eyes and the nose and the larynx over here. It's an empty tube, and it's built with the upper throat, the middle throat, and the lower throat. And a lot of people talk up here, Sandy Duncan, Cyndi Lauper. You know, she's so lovable. I love her so much when I listen. And she talks, you know what I think, well, it's a very lovable presentation. It works very well for Cyndi. But for most of us, it wouldn't work. Morty Cooper used to talk that way. It didn't work for me. Hi, I'm Morty Cooper. So I changed it. And let me advise you, you can do it. Let me just tell you, you just balance the oral and nasal resonance. Now, this is the upper throat, this is the middle throat, and this is the lower throat. This is the 2/3 solution. I label it the 2/3 solution. It's called the mask area. And the mask is the area that the ancient Greek actors talked through, literally through a mask on stage, because they didn't have women on stage, and they imitated the women. You want to balance the oral and nasal resonance over here, and not talk down here, not talk up there. There are people in our society, the deaf. Forgive me if I imitate them. I feel for them and feel my position. I feel that as they're growing up, they should have help on the speaking voice so they can join with the speaking society. Now, there are those who maintain sign language is where the deaf should be. I don't buy that per se, because we live in a sound society, and a lot of people want to join the sound people because that's where the action is. If you want to stay in an isolated area and do signing, that's fine. But today, if you want to be somebody and get somewhere, you have to be where the rest of the people are, and that's using a speaking voice that gets you heard, liked, and, in my opinion, listened to. The deaf or the very severely hard of hearing, there is a time for voice help. It's usually when they're very young. People who have those impairments should be helped at that time. Unfortunately, not too often are they helped. So we have people who have those voices, and now as they grow into adulthood and they want a position, they want authority, they want to join the speaking society, the rest of us, they have a difficult time making the transition, if it's to be made at all, because there's a readiness period, and it's usually when you're a child. You may make it as an adult, but it may require a tremendous amount of effort. What does it do to you? It impairs your ability to be heard, liked, and listened to if you don't have the balanced oral and nasal sound. Why? Because we live in a talking society. Our society is based on sound. Tune into radio, tune into television, and what do you have? You have sound. Not the silent movies, not the silent screen. We live in a sound age. Now, there are those who say the voice is what you have, you're born with it, and that's the way it is. My position is that that's not true. It's not so. The voice that you have is the voice that you've inherited, basically, from your friends, your family, and your enemies. Actually, your enemies have influenced your voice.
You didn't like Uncle Harry's voice that way?
So you talked all the way down here. Or Uncle Harry had a voice like this, and you don't like Uncle Harry.
So you talked all the way up there.
You sound like Sandy Duncan. Do you like wheat thins? I loved wheat thins before I heard Sandy Duncan. I don't like wheat thins anymore, but that's just my feeling. I don't know about you. And I like to listen to people who are very easy and soundable. They have believability in their voice. Johnny Carson, I like James Garner, Anne Bancroft, Diane Carroll. I love those voices because they're up here and they have soundability and believability. Do you have that? Does your voice give you the ease and comfort? Now, I want to show you something.
If you're talking up there, when you see the lights, you're talking too high. You don't want to do that.
Say right, say really, say one, and you get your voice focused around here. And that's what you want to do. You want to balance the oral and nasal resonance. This is the nasal, and this is the oral, and you want to balance it. You don't want to take out the nasal resonance and just have a flat oral resonance because it's dull. And you don't want to go down here and talk like I feel the situation is with Henry Kissinger, because then, of course, you might actually think you're losing your hearing when you hear Henry. As you know, Irma Bombeck said, if you miss the first few words of Henry Kissinger, folks, it's all over. Henry has a lot of pizzazz. You may not know that. Mimi Van Doren, who dated Henry Kissinger, said on the Merv show when I guested there that Henry didn't have his batteries worn down and out as I said they sound like in his voice. So his voice, you see, doesn't express him. And the reason for that is, I feel in the situation, it talks all the way down there. We want the voice over here, and we want the voice 007. When it's here, it's a full, easy, natural voice. Now, you can get that, and you can feel at ease doing it, but you have to blend it. I want you to say right, and I want you to say right one.
So if you're up here, it's going to bring it down.
Right one, right two. And if you're down here, let the voice go forward. Energize your voice. Most of you don't energize your voice. You're mumblers. And we live in a society where people feel put upon if they put a little more pizzazz into their voice. They think they're shouting. You're not shouting. And you're not aggressive, and you're not pushing. You're very soundable, you're very credible, and you're very believable. Incidentally, this is a book I wrote that's now in the 10th printing. It's called Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. It's in libraries, it's in bookstores, and it tells you how to get a better, more effective voice. Can you do that? Can you actually self-improve? Why not? Why not? Let me show you how. You're going to be watching the light mirror, the voice mirror. Join with me. Voice is a very simple mechanism. It's like putting your shoes on and taking your shoes off. But think of this, if you will. If you will. You forgot that somebody helped you to put your shoes on as you were growing up. I remember somebody helping me to tie my shoelaces and so forth. Don't you? If that's true, you learn how to put your shoes on, you learn how to put your pants on, your skirt, your blouse. You learn how to dress. Not for color coordination, but how to dress literally. But you forgot that. And as you grew up, you learned to read, to write, and to think. Now you know that. You spend a lot of time doing that. The vast majority of the time that we are talking throughout the day, we use the speaking voice. We don't write memorandums. We talk. We talk on the telephone. We talk to each other. We talk, we talk, we talk. And talking is the way to go. Now, if your voice isn't talking for you, what do you have?
If you're talking like that, what do you have?
People listen to you and make a judgment about you.
Now, if you're talking up there,
all you have to do, are you ready, is energize. Now watch,
if you're talking this way,
right, right one, right two. You're saying, well, if it's so simple, why doesn't everybody do it? If it were so simple, why didn't anybody find the law of gravity before Newton did in the 18th century? If it's so simple, why did the Wright brothers fly the planes and nobody else before them, basically speaking? Why wasn't mass production of the car produced before Ford? Why, why? The answer is that there are innovative people that come along and give us the creative edge and tell us what to do, and the rest of us follow. And that's the way it should be. Not too many of us think as pathfinders, as trailblazers, but it's interesting to watch the people who have.
Now, if you're talking up there, can you change from a nasal voice
To a full voice, why not? Can it be as simple as I say? Why not? Try it.
If you're talking and you're in the living room right now, or you're in the bedroom, you're with your girlfriend, and she's talking like this, and you don't like that voice, now what you have to do is tell her to say right, and she says right.
Say it with energy, Gertrude. Say right. And watch what happens to Gertrude's voice, Fanny's voice, Mildred's voice. Try it. Energize it. Say no. Say no like you mean no. Say no.
She's saying no, 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 no. You ever hear these people talk, and the women talk like that?
They sound like the namby-pambies. They sound like the counterpart of Mr. Rogers.
Is your mother home? You having a good time? You ever hear Mr. Rogers? He sounds like he just doesn't have anything going for him except that light, airy voice.
Now, kids like it. I know kids like it. And you grew up possibly in that generation, and you might like it. But there's another way to go. Mr. Rogers doesn't have that voice. That's not his real voice. We have star-quality voice. We simply don't use it. That's my premise. Now, why don't we use it? Because we don't have the vaguest idea, not the vaguest, that we have another voice, a real voice. Voices, you know, are for everyone. How do you know? Listen on the telephone and see what it says to you.
Hello, Harry, are you home? You going to be there?
And you hold the telephone away. Yeah, Harry, you're going to tell me what you... And you... What kind of voices are those? Those are the voices of our friends, our associates, our enemies. These are the voices that we tune into day in and out, and we make a judgment about those voices. You do, and I do. And you know you do, but you don't want to tell the other person that you're making the judgment, do you? Because you might hurt them. What are you going to tell the person
who talks like that?
Or talks like this?
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to tell them when you don't understand that the speaking voice is a relatively simple instrument to use, but they don't know how to use it? And that, my friend, includes you. Very few people have a good speaking voice, but nearly everyone, in my opinion, has star-quality voice that's beautiful, and they don't use it. And the answer is, why? Because they don't take a single lesson on the speaking voice. They don't know they can get a better, more effective voice. Is the question apropos to you? Are voices for everyone? Or are they only for the stars? Are they only for the people who are in show business? Now, if you believe that, you believe in the tooth fairy. Because when you talk throughout the day, everywhere you talk, your voice is the key to getting you heard, liked, and listened to. It gives credibility, it gives believability, it gives soundability, it gives all the abilities, and it says who you are or who you aren't. May I ask this of you? Who are you? Does your voice really express you? I'll make you a wager. Your voice is not talking for you.
It's talking this way.
It's talking that way.
It's talking that way.
It has all the negative sounds, like a nail on the blackboard, save the voice that really is you. And that voice can give you self-esteem, security, and confidence. Why don't you have it? Because you don't know how to focus your voice in the two-thirds solution. Let me help you. Can I? Remember I told you the voice is built on a megaphone basis from the top of your eyebrow down to the bottom of your vocal fold area? 50% of us talk up there, because when you become an adult from a kid, between the ages of 12 and 15, your voice has changed, but you haven't with your voice. You've changed in the clothes you wear, the thoughts you have, the food you like, and almost everything else. Now, when I was a kid, I wore a pair of glasses. I still wear glasses. They're stronger now. But I know I have to wear glasses. We have our eyes measured to us. We have our body palpated by physicians. We have our shoes measured to us, our pants, our skirts, everything else, in respect to who we are. Yet, have you ever had your voice measured to you? Just once. Just once? And my answer is that you basically have not. And why not? Because you've grown up with the myth and the misconception that the voice that you have is your natural voice.
So if you're talking like that, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Right?
Wrong.
Morty Cooper used to talk up here, right? Right. Was it right?
Wrong. The voice is over here. Can you see it on the screen? As you're watching the screen, can you see what the voice is doing? Testing 1, 2, 3. This is more of the voice that I think you have. We all have beautiful voices. We have low-pitched voices for the most part, and we love those voices, but we don't use them. We use them incorrectly. We talk all the way down here. If you watch, as the lights are showing you, you talk down here. You want to get the voice up here. Can you see, as I do that, you can see the screen, I think, and you can see the pitch. And it should be up here, and it should not low and rest down here. Now, Henry Kissinger's voice, I feel the situation that we have, is almost inaudible. He can say whatever he wants to say, and we never know what he's actually saying. I feel that this is, it's always the voice of doom and gloom, and he's not that way. Dr. Ruth has a great deal to say. It might be open sex, clean sex, it could be dirty sex for all we know. It's down here, goes too high, goes betwixt, up and down. Dr. Ruth is an outstanding person. She has a great deal to tell us, as some of the people that we listen to. But their voices don't give us that edge. What they have is a bunny voice. It makes them recognizable. It makes them aware of who they are. But the sound is a kind of negative. It doesn't really reach out to us. We don't want to listen to those voices too long. We like James Garner, we like Anne Bancroft, Diane Carroll. Those are voices, Cheryl Ladd. Those are voices that are in the two-thirds solution. Our voices for everybody. Are they for you? Now, if you're going to go back and say people in show business and public, people go to court, doctors should have good voices, they might say two. Yes, but they worked at it. Did you know a lot of people work at the voice but don't talk about it? It's a closet thing. I know because I work with a lot of people on their voice, and they don't say it in public that they worked on their speaking voice. It's still one of those things that's kind of off the beaten track. Now why? I don't know. But we feel in a sense that the voice is us, and we should have that voice. Should we have the ability to read, write, and think, and just pop out of bed as a kid and be able to do those things? We know that isn't so. You have to learn it. It's not magical. There's nothing magical about what we do in civilization. It's learned over a period of years, and we train each other. Why don't we train the speaking voice? Why don't we have a course in high school or at college or in grade school so kids, when they grow up to become adults, can have a voice that's listenable, appealing, relaxing?
Do we have to have voices like that?
No. Do we have to have voices like that? No. But we do. And you may have those voices. So what I want you to do right now is say, right. Now, you see the light go right, really one. If I say, I'm Morty Cooper. I'm Morty Cooper. Do you see the light going up there? Now I'm going to say, hi, I'm Morty Cooper. You can call me Morty. Everybody else does. I play basketball. They call me, hey, Morty. They're up there. And they want to know what I do for a living. I always kid them and tell them I'm gainfully unemployed for the past 30 years. Voice is an invisible field, not only to the public, but to a lot of people as well in my field. So try to understand that your voice can express you. It can represent you. It can get you heard, liked, and listened to. And it can do all the things that you want your clothes to do, all the things that your status positions may seek to give you, all the things that money may afford you. Your voice can give you that and more. Because voice is an aspect that you use 80% of the time to speak with throughout the day. It is the code, it is the signal, it is the language. And if your voice doesn't speak for you, what will? Your clothes?
Hi, and you look very good. You have a well-dressed suit, you have a fine dress on, you drive a fine car.
Or you don't have any of those things, and you have a poor way of dressing. Usually I don't wear a jacket or a tie, but I like to talk and I like to relate to people. I guess the voice helps me to get heard, liked, and listened to.
This voice, I don't think Morty Cooper helped me very much when I went to college.
Now, say right. Can you say right? Right. Right one, you see as I'm doing it. Where the right one, right two. Now, most of us have lower, fuller, richer voices. But we talk very softly, and we talk as though we're shouting, so we keep it very soft, and we talk this way, and people have to strain to hear us. Is that happening to you? It shouldn't. The voice is an instrument, and it can get you heard, liked, and listened to, as I said a little while ago. It has credibility, and it has believability. I've used a voice mirror, which I use in my office, to show you,
if you talk all the way up there, it has a certain sound, and people do that. Woody Allen, I might not.
it's very good for Woody Allen because he has a money voice, and it's good for Henry Kissinger because he talks like that. He can do the same number throughout the country year after year, and nobody knows if he's saying anything new. If you talk up here and you say, yes, I'm 007, and you have this voice, women swoon and men love to hear you. We love to hear a voice that's well-focused. All these years, I went over I'm Charles Boyer, a romantic lead, made us tune in. Men and women, beasts, kids, and anything else. So isn't the voice worthwhile to focus it up here? If your voice is up here, refocus it, get it this way. The word is refocus. Get your voice over there and make it worthwhile. This is the book, if I may say so. It's called Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. It's a self-help book. You can find it in the library. It tells you how to get a better, more effective voice very quickly. I've tried to get you to think of one thing, the focus and refocus.
Don't talk up there.
Don't talk down here. I'm Mort Cooper.
Or am I Morty Cooper?
Or Mort Cooper. I'm right over here. I'll join you next week, same time, same station. Change your voice, change your life. Yes, I think you can. Don't you? Good night.